is the half-chick. Once upon a time there was a handsome black Spanish hen who had a large brood of chickens. They were all fine, plump little birds except the youngest, who was quite unlike his brothers and sisters. In fact, he was such a strange, queer-looking creature that when he first chipped his shell his mother could scarcely believe her eyes. He was so different from the 12 other fluffy, brown, downy, soft little chicks who nestled under her wings. This one looked as if he had been cut in two. He had only one leg, and one wing, and one eye, and he had half of a head and half of a beak. His mother shook her head sadly as she looked at him and said,
"My youngest born is only a half-chick. He can never grow to be half handsome cock as his brothers. They will go out into the world and rule over poultry yards of their own, and this poor little fellow will always have to stay home with his mother."
and she called him Medio Pollito, which is Spanish for half-chick. Now, though Medio Pollito was an odd, helpless-looking little thing, his mother soon found that he was not at all willing to remain under her wing of protection. Indeed, in character he was unlike his brothers and sisters as he was in appearance. They were good, obedient chickens, and when the old hen checked after them, they chirped and ran back to her side. But Medio Pollito had a roving spirit, in spite of his one leg, and when his mother called him to return to the coop, he pretended he could not hear, because he only had one ear. When she took the whole family out for a walk in the fields, Medio Pollito would hop away by himself and hide among the Indian corn. Many and anxious minutes his brothers and sisters had looked for him, while his mother ran to and fro cackling in fear and dismay. As he grew older, he became more self-willed and disobedient, and his manner to his mother was often very rude, and his temper to the other chickens was very disagreeable. One day he had been out for a longer expedition than usual in the fields. On his return he strutted up to his mother with a peculiar little hop and kick, which was his way of walking, and cocking his one eye at her in a very bold way, he said,
"Mother, I'm tired of this life in the dull farmyard, and nothing but dairy maize field look at. I'm off to Madrid to see the king." "To Madrid, Medio Pollito?" exclaimed his mother. "Why, you silly chick, it would be a longer journey for a grown-up cock, and you poor little thing like yourself would be tired just before you went half the distance. No, no, stay at home with your mother, and some day when you are bigger we will go on a little journey together."
But Medio Pollito made up his mind and would not listen to his mother's advice, nor to the prayers and entreaties of his brothers and sisters.
"What use is it of crowding each other up in this little poky place?" he said. "When I have a fine courtyard of my own in the king's palace, I shall perhaps ask some of you to come and pay a short visit."
And scarcely waiting to say goodbye to his family, away he stumped down the high road that led to Madrid.
"Be sure you are kind and civil to everyone you meet," called out his mother, running after him.
But he was in such a hurry to be off that he did not wait to answer or even look back. A little later in the day, as he was taking a shortcut through a field, he passed a stream. Now the stream was all choked up and overgrown with weeds and water plants so that the waters could not flow freely. "Ooh, Medio Pollito," it cried as the half-chick hopped along its bank. "Do you come and help me by clearing away these weeds?"
"Help you indeed!"
exclaimed Medio Pollito, tossing his head and shaking a few feathers of his tail.
Do you think I have nothing to do but waste time on such trifles? Help yourself and don't trouble busy travelers. I'm off to Madrid to see the king.
And hoppity kick, away stumped Medio Pollito. A little later he came to a fire which had been left by some gypsies in the wood. It was burning very low and would soon be out.
Oh, Medio Pollito, cried the fire in a weak, wavering voice which was half Chick approached. In a few minutes I will be out, unless you put some dry sticks and leaves upon me. Do help me or I shall die. Help you indeed, answered Medio Pollito. I have other things to do. Gather sticks for yourself and don't trouble me. I'm off to Madrid to see the king.
Then hippity kick, away stumped Medio Pollito. The next morning he was getting near Madrid. He passed a large chestnut tree whose branches the wind caught and entangled. "Oh, Medio Pollito," cried the wind, "do hop up here and help me get free of these branches. I cannot come away, and they are so uncomfortable."
It's your own fault for going there, answered Medio Pollito. I can't waste all my morning stopping here to help you. Just shake yourself off, and don't hinder me, for I am off to Madrid to see the king.
And hoppity kick, away stumped Medio Pollito in great glee, for the towers and roofs of Madrid were now in sight. When he entered the town, he saw before him a great splendid house with soldiers standing at the gates. This, he knew, must be the king's palace, and he determined to hop up to the front gate and wait there until the king came out. But as he was hopping past one of the black windows, the king's cook saw him. "Here's everything I want," he exclaimed, "for the king has just sent a message to say that he must have chicken broth for his dinner." And opening the window, he stretched out his arm, caught Medio Pollito, and popped him down in the broth pot that was standing near the fire. Oh, how wet and clammy the water felt as it went over Pollito's head, making his feathers cling to his side.
Water, water, he cried in despair. Do have pity on me, and do not wet me like this.
"Oh, Medio Pollito," answered the water, "you would not help me when I was a little stream away in the fields. Now you must be punished." Then the fire began to burn and scald Medio Pollito, and he danced and hopped from one side of the pot to the other, trying to get away from the heat and crying out in pain.
Fire, fire, do not scorch me like this. You can't think how it hurts.
"Ah, Medio Pollito," answered the fire, "you would not help me when I was dying away in the wood. You are to be punished." At last, just as the pain was so great that Medio Pollito thought he must die, the cook lifted up the lid of the pots to see if the broth was ready for the king's dinner.
Look here, he cried in terror. This chicken is quite useless. It's burnt to a cinder. I can't send it up to the royal table.
And opening the window, he threw Medio Pollito out into the street. But the wind caught him up and whirled him through the air so quickly that Medio Pollito was scarcely able to breathe, and his heart beat against the side of his side until he thought he would break.
"Oh, wind!" he at last gasped out. "If you hurry me along like this, you'll kill me. Do let me rest for a moment, or—"
But he was so breathless that he could not finish his sentence.
"Ah, Medio Pollito," said the wind. "When I was caught in the branches of the chestnut tree, you would not help me. Now you are punished."
And he swirled Medio Pollito over the roofs of the houses until they reached the highest church in town. And there he left him fastened to the top of the steeple. And there Medio Pollito stands to this day. And if you go to Madrid and you walk through the streets till you come to the highest church, you will see Medio Pollito perched on his one leg on the steeple, and with one wing drooping at his side, gazing sadly out of his one eye out over the town.